welcome to another episode of Teach Gen Tech Learning TypeScript with Josh. Yay!
Yay.
Josh came to the save earlier this week while I was streaming, learning how to create, download Docker, use Docker with Postgres and pgadmin. And the first 30 minutes of it, I had no audio until Josh showed up and was like, "Yo, dude, I can't hear you." Oh shit. Well, that would be helpful. So, yay, Josh. And for those who don't know, we'll see if I can remember it. Josh is a TypeScript maintainer. Is it official TypeScript or is it the linter that
It's
you're
just with the
maintaining?
lint tooling. My
Okay.
job title is, well, non-existent and very confusing because I'm one of the people who works on TypeScript ESLint, which is neither TypeScript nor ESLint. It is a tooling that lets you run ESLint and also prettier on TypeScript code. But I do sometimes
Okay.
contribute to TypeScript once in a while.
Okay. Okay. Because I was always like, I don't know exactly, but I end up explaining that I'm like, yeah, Josh wrote a book about TypeScript and maintains something about TypeScript and is the TypeScript guru. That is my explanation of you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like TypeScript. It's good. It's very fun.
Yes. And so I will share my screen really quick because this is what the book looks like. Yay! Everybody should go get the book. It's amazing. I have thoroughly enjoyed learning, and there's funny and punny things in here that make it all worth reading. And also, it's definitely builds upon itself, which I'm seeing, of course, we're on chapter 4. It's taken us a while to get here, but we are moving. And I'm doing this for those who are curious. I am streaming from my iPad, so everyone can see my what I'm working on as well. But also, if I go to chapter 4, I bookmarked it. Y'all can see my notes. Cause
Whoop.
how do I get rid of this? I'm also still learning my iPad. It doesn't really get any bigger than this, um, unless I zoom in on the iPad itself. So, ah, if we want to see my notes, I can zoom. But before we get there, Josh, we are on chapter 4, objects.
Yes.
What went into building this and what's your overall why is this chapter 4 and what do you think is the most important pieces of this?
Hmm.
Quizzing you before we go look at the summary.
Um, Objects are really important in JavaScript. Like one of the really important things in JavaScript for everyone is writing all sorts of objects all over the place. And because people do all sorts of wild and wacky things, which I'm learning these days is one of my favorite phrases, with their objects, TypeScript has to be able to represent them super flexibly. But when you get
Okay.
down to it, in JavaScript, an object or an object literal, the little curly brackets with stuff inside, is a set of key and value pairs. That's what it is. So in the type system, TypeScript lets you describe what those key and value pairs are going to be, each of which might have their own type. So like you can have an object with like key is the string ABC, the value is number typed. And then this object stuff just keeps going into different ways of representing different key value pair types.
So an object in short, so object is a key and a value, and it's in the curly brackets or regular brackets.
I call them curly brackets or curly boys or squiggly bracket boys or squiggly wigglies.
I'm like, you sound like you were on Jason's stream because he always calls them curly bracket or curly boys.
Yeah.
I think he has a shirt about it. That is my representation of it. That's probably not great. Please don't judge my drawing. Okay, so me being the super noob, for everyone who is curious, I am I'm figuring stuff out as I go. I'm like, I want to do this project. Let's go learn it, which has its struggles or is really awesome because then you live stream with 10 other people that all know what they're doing and you're the super noob who's sharing your screen asking questions about CSS. That does happen too. That was
That was a
fun.
great stream, though.
I had so much fun because I was not paying attention to like anything else anyone was saying. And I was so grateful because Jacob was like running the stream. And then I was just focusing on my code, but I could ask questions when I got stuck. It was phenomenal. Um, for anyone who is curious, I would highly, highly suggest if you're ever wanting to learn stuff, make friends and just live stream it. It it's a lot of fun. Okay. So the reason I went into that is so I'm trying to think of how to explain this. Of a value, I'm going to go back a couple pages because I tried writing this out. Uh, a value is different than a variable,
Hmm.
but whatever, no, no, this isn't. I was thinking I was putting pieces together and I wasn't, which
Okay.
is a little sad. So I'll just ask it instead of me trying to, what's a key and what's a value? So that way I stop trying to guess and look really
Sure.
awkward.
So in JavaScript, every object is a set of key and value pairs. It's like
Hmm.
could you go earlier in the page? I wonder if I have an example here. Okay, no. Next page then, if you don't mind. Trying to get an
Yeah, for
example to the
sure.
code. All right, here we go. Top of the page, poet equals. Then poet equals an object with two key value pairs. Born is a key, 1935 is a value. The value's type is number. So then TypeScript would understand that poet variable to be type object that contains a born number and a name string. Is that what you're looking for?
Let me see if it is, and I'm going to. So this defines variable. Variable. Sure, that's how it's going to be spelled right now. And then, eh, 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 this is an object. And then we're going to change colors because we got too much going on here. Let's do purple. Sure.
Yeah, purple.
And then I feel like, so this, wow, that didn't work very well. Is a key, and this one's a key too,
Mm-hmm.
but it wouldn't be the value is 1935 or the value is a number.
Yeah, runtime in the runtime area of understanding. Yeah, poet.born is the number 1935. But in the type system, TypeScript would consider it to be type number. So that you can later do like poet.born equals 123. Like that would be allowed because poet.born is considered to be type number. Kind of like how a let variable, like if you said let born equals 1935, that's type number. You can then later on assign it a different number. Because keep in mind in JavaScript, a const variable can't be reassigned, but you can do whatever the heck you want to its properties. So you can do like poet.born equals -1, even though poet is const.
I hear what you're saying. I'm trying to think of how to like conceptualize this so I remember going back to it.
Sure.
So would you say the key can be a type number, type string, whatever, and then the value is what is ever declared in the key? Because then like 1935 can always change. But
Yeah.
in this example, it's 1935.
Yeah.
I'm
If the
trying to
key
think of a
stays the
way to.
same, the value can change if you want.
Okay. Okay. I'll just do this. Me. Can change. And these are the values. And the keys create like example, poet dot. It would be poet dot born, right? And then that would be a number, or would it be poet? Yeah, it's example. Perfect. This is what I want. And I'm going to point to it. Yay.
Yay.
Yay. Cool. See, this is why I really, really wanted to get the tablet. Because I'm like, what you're saying makes sense, but it doesn't always make sense in my head because I need arrows.
Sure. The arrows are key.
Yes. So I'm gonna go back a page on so we're talking about object types now, and I know at least on and thank you for letting me ask you questions and being aware of my Astro projects because that does help put it to reference of in at least my first Astro project, it was all of the type declarations were in another file. Are they always in another file or are they normally within the same file?
By default, people normally put them in the same file. But if you have types that are used in multiple files and aren't like strongly associated with one particular component, then or thing, then yeah, it's not unheard of. It's not uncommon to put them in a dedicated like types file. It's kind of like when you declare constants. Like if it's only used in one place, yeah, just keep it in that one file. But if you use it in a few different places, maybe put it in a shared, separate file.
Yeah, we'll go back and write that one. Cool. Yay, that totally made sense.
Cool.
Now, if we skip a little further, which guys, we're just gonna scroll because it's like the
Oh,
fast way to get to the summary.
real
Just to,
far.
yay. All right.
Oh,
So
right. Yep.
we talked about this a little bit, and I kind of like going through the summary first because then I'm like, okay, I know what I'm going to be learning and what to look out for, which that works for some people for learning. Other people are like, no, dude, I gotta go from the beginning. So I think this was really helpful of how TypeScript interprets types from objects type literals, describing object literal types, including nested and optional properties, which nested totally made sense to me, and then optional didn't. And I was like, why? Why?
Sure.
It's frustrating for me. Uh, declaring, inferring, and type narrowing with unions and of object literal types. And
Discriminated unions and discriminants. What a
yeah,
concept. Gonna have to read the chapter to get that one.
and combining object types together with intersection types. So a lot of this, and I really like that you always reference. Oh, I got a pointer, guys. Y'all, we got pointers. Pointers.
Pointer boys.
Ooh, that you always put where we'll cover it more, or you link back to where it was previously covered. That being said, I don't think anybody wants to go through that again of me scrolling a ton. So it's that one. Yay.
Cool.
All right. Go into section 2. Declaring object types. This, some of these notes may be in here because I'm just working on remembering what we previously were talking about. So if we are declaring object types, which this might make it easier for everybody to see, and a little easier. I feel like it lets us show text and that.
Yeah.
So we're declaring object types. So I was like, I need to remember what the types are, which
Wait.
is null, undefined, Boolean, string, number, bigint, and symbol.
Those are the primitive types, not the
Perfect.
object types. The two terms are different.
See, this is why we're fact checking myself.
Cool. Everything you
Cool.
said is right, except if you cross out object and write primitive, then it'll be completely right.
Sweet. Yay.
Awesome.
And okay. Okay. Because
Okay.
they're primitive types because an object needs to have a key and a value. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna
Basically,
put
everything in JavaScript is either a primitive or an instance of a class, which we haven't gotten into yet, or a function or an object. Basically, everything.
okay. So these. Okay, cool. Yay. That totally makes more sense. And what we were talking about further on, yo, it's Ryan. Hello, Ryan.
Ryan.
I love that Ryan always does that. Like Ryan is the best at like posting stuff when I'm like I love talking to people, but like live streaming and then managing the chat and stuff, I'm always like, okay, hold on. Let me do this. I just realized something though, y'all. Let's see if I can just do the window to make it easier for all of us to see. Hey, there we go.
Awesome. I also just got a really good backstretch. It's a good time.
Nice, nice. That is always important. So, okay, declaring objects. What would you say is a short summary of declaring objects?
You can create a new object in JavaScript. And so actually, sorry, I misinterpreted. When we say declaring object types, it's similar to how you might say that a variable will eventually be or only ever be like a string or a number or something. Here we're
Mhm.
saying it'll only ever be an object with these particular keys and values in it. So on this example that you're showing on the screen, let poet later, we're saying poet later, the variable will only ever be assigned an object that has born, number, name, string.
Mhm.
Technically, I should have said is only ever going to be assigned a value that has those things, but that's semantics.
So I think this is a part that leads to my question later on of like error type string is not assignable to this because like what this alone makes sense when we go to when you're adding extras. That's where I'm
Mhm.
like, wait a second. So
Yeah.
cool. Um, aliased object types.
Hmm.
This one made sense, and especially because we talked about aliases earlier. What I was curious about was you answered this one already. Yay. So we don't need to go through that one. So
Yeah.
um, just because we were talking about like const let and those type of things, if let wasn't added here, could you just do poet equals instead of poet later equals, right? Yeah.
Um, like the poet from earlier.
Well, no, it says type poet, and that's the object. And
Mhm.
then you say let poet later be poet, and then you use let poet. But do you need to have let poet later declared for to use poet as a, or could I
Oh,
say,
you don't. You could say like let poet colon capital B poet equals the
okay,
type. They all work the same as with primitive or literal types or type unions.
okay,
Like you can slap that type in a place even if it doesn't really seem necessary.
cool, okay.
Yeah.
And this, I was like, okay, cool. Um, this totally made sense. And this was another way of showing that you couldn't just put, like with the error of just Emily Dickinson because it's missing information.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Like in theory, Emily Dickinson, the string, has some properties on it. It has like length and, you know, to string and stuff, but it does not have born and it does not have name. So it doesn't
mhm.
work.
And that one made total sense to me. Um, Anything else you would want us to know about aliased object types?
Now, aliases are used for all sorts of things, but the concept of an alias itself is actually really small as a concept.
Hmm.
It's just whenever I say this word, I actually mean whatever's to the right of the equal sign. So whenever I say poet, I actually mean object that has born in name. That's all.
Okay. Okay. And then structural typing made sense to me. Um, oh, let me see if I can find this. I like that I made myself a
CFP
note
title.
of it, of because this one talks about duck typing. And I
Mhm.
remember on like our last string, I had to ask, like, it was the first time I heard of what duck typing was. And I was like, what is this? And one night I came up with funny titles and I was like, so let me write this really quick. Y'all can laugh at it. It's totally okay. But I don't know if it applies, but zoom in. Types of ducks. Ducks. Having types. Okay, there we go. I didn't have my phone with me to put it earlier, but types of ducks, how having data types help your ducking code.
I like it.
I want to do a talk on that someday, inspired by our stream. So thanks.
Let's do it.
But I was like,
Yep.
is that a little too silly or does it actually work? Doesn't
I
work,
like it.
but
The
I feel
only
like there's
problem is that you put it at it's a little longer of a title and the funny part's at the end. I'm wondering if there's a way to move the ducking code, like the joke,
oh
to earlier in the title to emphasize it
yeah.
more. Were you worried that I was about to criticize it?
No, I I didn't know, like I was like, I'm pretty sure these pieces of it make sense. But I was like, wait, if duck code is without types and is just like going with the flow, does adding data types actually help? Because then it's no longer duck typing. So I was
Yeah.
more like over analyzing that part of things
Okay.
than word structure and stuff like that. But we could say uh let's change the color. Purple, sure. Help your ducking code.
This reminds me of one of the greatest Simpsons gags of all time. You ever seen the picture of Sneed's Feed and Seed,
No.
formerly owned by Chuck?
Oh my gosh.
It's a joke from The Simpsons. Anyway.
I don't think I've ever actually watched a full episode of The
Huh.
Simpsons.
It used
I
to be a lot better.
I haven't seen a lot of TV. It's kind of sad, kind of boring, but that's okay. So, what do you think of this one though? Help your ducking code with data types.
I like it. Yeah. Good.
You know, I'll work on it. I'll work on it. It was
Work on it.
I was just excited that the concept. I was like, uh, I woke up in the middle of the night and all these like title ideas came to mind. And I'm
Yes.
like, what? Why does it have to come to me at like 1 a.m.? Why can't it come to me like, during the day when I'm
Mhm.
awake? So it
Yeah.
was one of those. That's why I'm like,
One of those.
no hard feelings if it doesn't make sense.
Do you keep like a whiteboard or pen and paper by your bed? Anything like that?
Um, I send them to myself in a message.
Nice.
And that's,
I've found that that's super useful, like having a message or paper or whatever.
yeah. Yes, that is true, Ryan. That is so true. Ryan said it's because you're more
Mm.
relaxed, i.e., shower thoughts. That is why so many people remember things when or have ideas. Um, I actually, since I started using the tablet, um, I started going to sleep with it next to me, so I can just put this in a notebook and actually start having them together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus one on the driving. I've written, like, verbally dictated, written a lot of blog posts in the car on long trips.
Oh, that's a good call. That's good reminder because if we are moving back to Phoenix in July, it'll be a 14-hour drive. So, I'll just like be really productive and write things
I'm
verbally.
expecting you to have your own TypeScript book by the end of that drive.
Yes. Yes. Like TypeScript for people who don't know JavaScript.
Mhm.
Okay, so usage checking. This one also completely made sense to me. I was just like, oh, it's
Yay.
just checking that. Like, yeah, that one was easy. What would you say is the summary of that one?
I'm glad it made sense to you because I have to look back at what did I
Okay,
even write here?
so the
What did
way
it make sense for you? Yeah, yeah. You tell me.
okay, the way I understood it is usage checking is when basically it's like, hey, we had first name, last name. You entered the first name, but hey, last name's not here. So it's still wrong because last name's
Yeah.
not here.
Yeah.
Or
Exactly.
vice
Yeah.
versa if you wrote last name. So you used an example earlier of how you can use somebody's like you can put the poet's information as a string, but if you don't put name and their name in the string there, it's not going to know it because it's not reading it correctly. So, but excess property type, there is a what for a reason. Because I was like, the other one made sense. Totally made sense. Stuff is missing. But going to excess property type, if I go to the next page, I was like, I was looking at the error and I'm like, I'm I'm not,
Wow.
it's not clicking.
Sure. So TypeScript tells you when the thing you did, the value, does not
Hmm.
match what you previously said it should be. You
Hmm.
declare a variable and you say it's going to be a particular type that has two things, and the initial value for the variable has three things. Wow.
Hmm.
So the complaint there, the second indentation level of two, says an object literal may only specify known properties. As in, if you say it's going to be a particular type, you can only specify properties mentioned in that type. And activity does not exist on type poet. So TypeScript is telling you, hey, you said it's going to be this thing, but it's actually more than that thing. You added excess things you weren't saying you're going to.
Okay, so y'all, I know this is on 2 pages, so bear with me for going back and forth. But oh,
Does
actually,
it not have
y'all,
like a side by side?
it
Yeah.
doesn't, but it does have this kind of creepy thing that I can do. Copy,
Creepy is my middle name.
paste image. Ta-da! So this is what we have from the other page. Okay, I guess that'll work. Okay, let me like zoom this in since it's a little smaller. Of if so we have, and I think this does help, at least for me, being able to see them on the same page. Of
Yeah.
so we said the type is poet, and that object includes born and name, and then we have the const poet match is poet. That's an alias, and so the keys are born and name, the values are the year and name, and that's all that's in our object. That's it. Voila, we're done. But if we say, well, hey, our poet is walking, has an activity going on, it's not going to work because it's never assigned.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that totally makes more sense. Thank you.
Cool. Yay.
Yeah, I think it was just that it was on different pages.
I know that's one of the real drawbacks of books, like traditional page-oriented books. I wish it could be like I wish the PDF view of it was like the O'Reilly online platform, where you
So
can
I
do it as one
can
long thing.
do it like a seamless view like this,
But you still
but
get the little page breaks, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
so like this one, I'm just like, if I didn't have this here, it still doesn't entirely make sense, but they are closer together. So it's something. It is something.
Mhm.
Um, which I guess I'll just keep it here.
Sure.
So nested types totally made sense to me. I'm trying to scroll down. So it's like you have an object within an object, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So if we look at these ones are still, I'm going to put pens together. And then so this is uh, object. Wow. Object. I can spell, guys. No, 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 no. There we go. Object one is poem. And then, oh, sorry. I don't know if you guys heard that, but I just made it beep a lot on me because my elbow hit it. And then author is object two,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Object in an object.
Cool. That would make sense to me. And it's still going to have the same issues if you don't have them lining up properly and enter the right information. So, gravy. This one is good.
Gravy.
Uh, we don't need to go through that one. But optional properties. So, just to make sure that I understand, it's basically saying that earlier we talked about if stuff is missing, then we're going to get an error. But sometimes you don't always need a name and a date. Sometimes you just need a date because you don't know, or you need the name because you
Yeah.
have no idea when they were alive.
Or it's a blind date and you just need to know when to meet them, not their
Yeah,
name.
exactly. Exactly. So, all of that being said, just to break it down for myself on this last one. Okay, we're going back to the other view. Let's go. There
Ooh,
we go.
stretched a second.
Yeah. So typewriters is string um, with a line and then undefined. An editor is question mark with a string. So
Hmm.
is this saying it could be either one of those or I need to do the line? I'm just going to rewrite it now in not pink. So I would have to do the line, which is or, and then undefined.
I'm not sure what you meant in the question.
Okay,
Could you
solid.
rephrase, please?
Does this mean the same as
Ah,
this?
it does not.
Okay.
Author colon versus editor question mark colon. The
Yes.
question mark says this property does not have to exist. When there's no question
Oh,
mark, the property must exist, even if its value is undefined. Because there's a difference between the property not existing and the property existing but having the value undefined.
okay. Question mark, colon. That works. Okay. And I think it's so they would have to type undefined. It couldn't stay
Yeah.
blank.
Yeah. If they
Mm,
So this is most commonly done when well, actually, it's not super common. A lot of the time, people will just put the question mark. It's easier to type. Why would you want this? But like, let's say you have like a function that returns string or undefined or something, or like you have a
yeah.
variable that's only sometimes given a string. You might want to explicitly have that value in the object, even though it might be undefined. So you might do like author colon mark. This might be my author, maybe the variable name. I don't know if that helped or just made things more complicated, but
No,
what you said was
it
right. Yeah.
helped. Okay, that totally makes sense now. And then we get to unions, and I kind of struggled with unions in the last chapter. Bleh. Not my favorite. But could you go over like what you were planning with like unions of object types and inferred object type unions
Sure.
and kind of go into thought
Yeah.
process behind that?
It's all based on the concept of unions. So we should get you, make sure you're solid on unions in general before we overcomplicate it with objects. So can you describe what you think of unions as for me, to me?
I'm trying to remember. I think that's a big reason that I keep writing. Like earlier, I wrote what the values or what the on the other page, I wrote the 7 that were there because
Sure.
I
The
was like,
primitive types.
yeah, the types. There we go. Thank you. The types because I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna forget what types are. I think union is the same way where I'm like, I'm not used to the words, so I'm not used to the definition because I still associate it with English language instead of coding.
Sure.
So if I were to do this, and I want to show everybody instead of just like asking you for the answer, because I mean, don't get me wrong, it is really easy just to ask everybody for the answer, but then I'm not going to be great at Googling things. Okay. Oh, well, Siri wanted to answer, but didn't understand.
Mhm.
So this is back in chapter 3. Unions are expanding a values allowed type to be one or more possible types.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is when we said mathematician is a variable, but it could be undefined or Mark Goldberg, but it would have to be Mark Goldberg, the exact string, or it just could be undefined or a string.
Ah, you tell me. It's a let variable. Is it string or undefined or Mark Goldberg or undefined?
Mark Goldberg is undefined. Wait.
I would.
Hmm.
Eh. A let variable is allowed to be reassigned. So this is going to be string because it would be annoying to not let people assign any other strings to a let variable.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be string or undefined, the union type.
Okay.
You look unhappy with this.
No, it's just one of those things that are like gonna take longer to like sink in. It's repetition, not what you're saying. And I'm just gonna
Sure.
do. So that is, I think, one of the hardest parts of learning is not that far. It doesn't always. Oh, that's whatever. Yes, we want to do this all. Um, because when it's referred to in another area, it's kind of hard to remember to go back and where to go back
Yeah.
to. So I appreciate you asking me, do I know what it is? Because then I'm like, that is a solid question. I don't know. Don't know if I remember what it is. I was going to say union as in it puts 2 and 2 things together. So kind of. Okay. Let's paste this right here. Paste image. I can hang out over here. So I at least know where I got it from. All right. That is making more sense then because inferred object type unions is just saying instead of it being like a mathematician can be undefined or a string, it just means that there's 2 different type of objects that it could be, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's either the one with pages or the one with rhymes. Exactly.
Okay, so or okay, yeah. But would it still have to both have 3 in them?
It does not. Note the type that's in the comment there. But both of those two options have an optional. Ooh, that was poor choice of words. Both of those two potential types, technically constituents, but like the two potential type objects, they both have name string and they both have pages and rhymes. But in each of them, one of those latter two are optional. Yep. So in the first one, it says if you have a rhymes property, it's undefined, like it's not there. But you do have pages and name. That question mark is very key.
But that being said, I could do one that is just to make sure I'm following along of like one type is name string and just has the one, and then another one could be name and rhymes as both required. So they both don't have to have two keys
The
to
first one,
be a union.
yeah, like if you had removed pages from the first one, yeah.
Yeah, this might make more sense. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Oh, the back buttons. Oh, the back buttons. So if I just wanted copy, paste, and this one to be copy, paste. And yeah.
You're having a great time, I can tell.
It makes so much more sense finally being able to like be like, okay, cool. Like I kind of get what you're saying, but I don't. So can I like at least write it out, which helps when I don't necessarily want to write it out in code because then I'm more worried about like the errors there. I just want to get the like understanding. Like, could I
Sure.
do this because they're all required, but the first one has one key and the
Yeah,
second one has two keys?
you could totally do that.
Okay.
I will note. So, first of all, yes, you're absolutely right. I'm not trying to correct any understanding because I think yours is perfect and good and great. I will note, though, something interesting because I think it's cool. The specific type you just wrote, where they both have a name and only one of them has a pages, could be represented as an object. It would be equivalent to, say, an object that has Elian, hello, that has name colon string and then pages as an optional number. That's equivalent to basically the same thing
Oh,
as
yeah,
what you
yeah,
just
yeah.
wrote.
Okay.
And the fact that you just said, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah," is great because you understand why that's the case, and that makes me happy.
Yeah, so I could have just done the question mark for pages, but if I did name rhymes and I just couldn't think of anything. Don't need to have the same number of keys. I actually understand what
Cool.
keys are.
Yay.
And what up, Alien? Hello, hello. I do need to work on my website soon. I really should hit you up. We could do a stream for that, just like hanging out, making fun of me work on my site. And FYI, it was really fun though when we did it on Friday because I learned a lot. And Alien, I did try to tell everyone that I could have broken everything. That it's not because I got it from the theme. It's I could have done it myself because I copy paste and try to make things work. So, okay. Yay. Oh. So basically what I was just trying to ask you is explicit
Mhm.
object types.
Yeah. What you wanted was the next thing. And I mean, that's just a prettier way of thinking about it. Rather than inferring something with like these weird question mark, undefined things, like if that's your data structure, it's nice to represent it in the type system. And we're actually, I'm getting all excited. Excuse me. We're starting to think in TypeScript land. Like before, it was just, oh, TypeScript is letting us annotate like, oh, this stuff that's supposed to happen. But here, you are in this snippet describing in the type system how your code is thinking about things, the way your data is structured. And then you're just writing values that adhere to that format. I think it's a really pretty thing. And as you go through the book, you'll get to more and more of these, like, the data is based on the types, not the other way around kind of moments.
Aw, yay.
Just maybe I'm too excited for most people here, but I think it's really cool.
No, it is really cool because I'm starting to enjoy learning about it more because it's starting to put these pieces together where at the very beginning, and it is frustrating because you asked me about unions and I was like, dude, I don't know.
Bye.
I don't know. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that if somebody is going to ask me what's an explicit object type, I'm going to be like, dude, I don't even remember what unions are because the names don't associate. But if I were to go try to do this, oh yeah, okay, yeah. This is I know I can make this work. I'm just not gonna remember the name of it, which is
Yeah.
annoying. But it's also needed. You need to remember the name so you can know what to
Yeah.
Google.
Yeah. The Googling is key.
Yes.
Or as the kids now do it, chat GPT it or whatever.
Not gonna lie, I did do that for if we moved to Phoenix, we got to do it, find somewhere for my father-in-law to transfer his assisted living. And I was like, I don't even know how do you do that out of state. No idea. And ChatGPT came up with my list. I was very
There you
excited
go.
about this. Okay. Narrowing is doing, oh, I know it. I'm gonna go read it again because I put it up here.
You got this.
Reducing a value's allowed type to not be one of the more possible types.
Mhm.
But isn't is this would narrowing object types only be in an if and? Because if an object says, yo, I don't know, let's say that it has the key of name and that is the only thing in the object, it doesn't need to be narrowed anymore, right? Or is it just because these are if else's?
Um,
Is narrowing only for if else's?
yeah, I'm trying to think of how to answer that right. It is not only for if else's. There are actually a lot of cases in code where you end up using narrowing, sometimes just surprising cases. Other places I think have already come up in the book are ternary statements, like question mark colon. While loops and for loops actually can perform narrowing.
Mm,
But it's just easiest to, like, most common to say if statements, and also just kind of easiest to think of small code snippets that use them. But like, if let's say that a variable is like something or undefined, and you say while that variable inside the while loop,
yeah.
the variable will be narrowed to anything that's truthy.
Okay. Okay. I think I need to just practice more with narrowing types to understand them better. So that one, I will give you that. Um, you told us that we would have to read the chapter to get to discriminated unions.
Yes.
So I feel like I should just like skip over this.
Well, wait. It is my favorite thing in TypeScript, and you have personally hurt me. Just kidding.
Whatever. I just didn't get to it. I'm
That's okay.
sorry.
That's
I'm like, in reality, we could pause here and I will go through it and then we
no,
can
that's
come
okay.
back to it.
Honestly, one could do an entire stream on discriminating unions and discrimination in TypeScript. And before anyone gets their ears perked up on the words I just said, it comes from the mathematical concept of separating things, discriminating on values, and it is not an HR
Oh,
nightmare, which is a caveat I have to give always because the word discrimination has multiple meanings and only one of them is commonly used.
okay. So we're going to say separating. I like that. That makes a lot more sense even just looking at it.
You are thinking, oh no, what is happening?
I was like, what are we discriminating against? Like, what are we saying we're going to be mean to or something?
It's those
Um,
React developers. We're all on solid now. Am I right in the chat? Yeah.
oh, that does bring up the great point that we were going to ask about. What is the latest drama
Oh,
on TypeScript? This is my favorite question to ask because I don't 99% of the time, I do not realize anything is going on unless I hear about it from Dan, which on Dan's stream, we wrote a letter to an author in a very kind way about some feedback Dan received from his thread. Um, and then like from you or Jacob and Roy afterwards. That is how I
Cool.
find out about the drama.
Yeah. I actually don't think there's very much TypeScript drama. They are making a TypeScript documentary. Fun fact. It's the same people
Oh.
who made the React documentary, I think.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a React documentary.
I haven't watched it, actually. I've been meaning to. I've seen like a couple
Mm,
snippets. Actually, don't quote me on that. There might be two popular documentary teams happening. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know of any recent drama since we last
okay.
streamed, which is kind of good. Yeah. Right. Right. Dan actually asked an interesting question. We were chatting about this before the stream. Do TypeScript wizards like Pocock and me? Just gonna subtly put myself on the same level as Matt Pocock, even though I am not. Do we like compete with each other? Like, is there competition? And I have never felt that that is the case. Like,
Okay.
maybe technically we do, in that like one could choose amongst our different offerings to learn TypeScript. But like, it's not a competitive area. We're very friendly and supportive of each other. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And I was
That's
actually
good.
asked you if you could help me with an analogy. The analogy I thought it was like local like coffee shops or kombucha things or breweries in like a very hipster gentrified neighborhood. Like a rising tide lifts all boats. Have you thought of a better analogy than that to describe this loving area in the
I
last
would
hour?
I I think this came to mind because of your code examples of authors.
Mhm.
Authors like for
Yeah.
normally don't compete in having the better thing because they normally don't write the same stuff, or it would be copywriting, where they may compete in I must be the best version of myself because then I'll get more sales in my book.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be like I need to level up, but it doesn't mean that I'm tearing anybody else down.
Yeah. Exactly. Agreed. Like I have so many TypeScript books on my shelf. I've got this one from Stephen Baumgartner, Typing 50 Lessons. I got Programming TypeScript. Dan Vanderkam's book, which I reference and recommend in mine. Like a rising tide lifts all boats. Like we love each other. It's great. We're too small of an area to have infighting, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. I'm glad we got whatever the drama was out. That's always fun. And so discriminated unions.
Cool.
Is typed objects in JavaScript, and TypeScript is you have a property on the object indicate what shape the object is. Oh, I don't think we've talked at least. Okay, you might have. I do need to clarify this. You might. I don't remember going over what a shape is.
Sure.
What shape it is. I don't remember this. You might have gone over it. It doesn't mean that it's stuff.
I did go over it briefly, but not deeply. If you search for the word shape, it should only come up with a few matches, and the first or third or something like that. Like one of the first few will be the description of like what is a type? It's an object shape.
I don't know how to do that yet. I know I can. I just don't know how yet.
Command
So,
F, my default guess.
okay. And I was looking for shape.
Yes. Ooh,
Uh,
what an interesting search interface. I just use
Is
like
it?
the normal PDF viewer, like the default one, and
Oh, yeah. It searches all of it.
can you not just search
So
in it?
it it searches all of them, but it only found shape in the one I have
What?
highlighted.
What is
I don't know if that's
misposition?
accurate. It
Shape. Okay, it's a section in chapter 2, the type system, page 24, type shapes.
I wonder why it only took that one then. That's good
It
to
probably
know.
started on an
Oh,
object.
see, it's searching all
There it is.
pages right here. Oh, it says 44 results. I don't know why it. You saw the other page said only one. This says there's
Um,
44.
I'm guessing it meant only one book or PDF.
Okay, maybe. Okay,
That's a guess.
that that does make more sense. Okay, so you said that it was. I don't think I can zoom in on these. That's annoying. Um, Chapter 2.
Yeah, type shapes is the section. If you go to the table of contents, actually, it should be a clickable links in the
Oh,
PDF.
really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay, that means I need to, oh, it is right. Let's bookmark these and type system, type shapes.
Also, if you open a PDF in Chrome, on the left side, there's like the mini menu, and then you can also view. Actually, wait. Yeah, on your right side, there are those three symbols above where it says all pages underneath the plus, top right. You're in
Hmm.
the left of the three. What happens if you go to the middle of them?
What do you mean?
You see where it says all pages in the top right of
Yeah.
your application? There's that like bookmarky thing on top
Uh-huh.
of it. Is that bookmarks? Oh man, because in Chrome there's a view that like shows you the table of contents like from the headings, and you can like expand into sub chapters and stuff.
No, but you just gave me the idea that I do want to do this to the table of contents.
Yeah.
But your table of contents is not clickable.
Well,
Where,
seems like a you problem. I'm clicking it just fine.
like you do have other ones that are clickable. I'm trying to like, not even like these ones, but let's see.
Well, anyway,
I don't know.
all this to describe that when I say object shape, what I mean is the stuff that is known to exist on a type or value. So
So
like
it's
a
in
string
chapter
is
2.
known to have length 2 uppercase, 2 lowercase, and so on.
That's chapter 1. Let's scroll to chapter 2. Okay. Say one more time what you thought it meant, because I was highlighting.
Sure. Yeah, no, I spoke at an inopportune moment.
I was
When
not
we
listening
say
the best I could have.
sure. When we say object shape, what we mean is the list of stuff that is known to exist on an object or on a value, rather. For example, strings are known to have a bunch of stuff like length, 2 uppercase, 2 lowercase, slice, and so on.
Oh, look, I found it. So a type is a description of what a shape. Okay.
Mhm.
Yay.
The reason why I don't just say object shapes is because the concept of a type shape also applies to primitives, like the strings having length and so on.
Okay. Which properties and methods exist on a value and what is built in the type of operator would be described as. Okay. Well, back to chapter 4. And so that means that when we're talking about discrimination, shape scrolling, that it's
Can I propose, rather than have you read through the long, because it is kind of verbose text, can I share a screen of mine and go through the playground?
please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
On the
100%.
We end up doing this like on average now once a stream. I think this from the last 2 streams, including this
I
one,
like
sample
when you do
size.
this because it's like it can make sense, but then I still struggle with it. So this gives it more of a way of understanding it without, I guess, also being put on the spot because I'm like, you want me to type this too? That's scary.
I'm gonna do WAT because it really is like very difficult to type it, like or write and learn, right? At the same time.
Hmm.
Let's say we have type fruit equals name string, and then maybe some of our fruits are juicy or can be measured in terms of juiciness, and maybe some of them can be measured in terms of roundness, round boolean. So let's say we have like let fruit equals 50% chance of being apple or banana. You know what? I don't like apple and banana and juicy round. Let's call it round. Or what are some properties that I need one that only applies to apples and one that only applies to bananas?
Red, yellow,
Hmm.
color.
Interesting. You're making it a little more difficult for yourself. I love this. Let's do it.
Oh
Color.
God.
I
Okay.
just screwed up.
Yay. I'm so
Yay. Okay, cool.
excited.
All right, so let's say the apple color is another random. You know what? Let's do fruit. If I'm going to separate out just to make it a little more readable. So in this case, it's an apple. Fruit equals color math dot random greater than 0.5, red or yellow. Then name apple. Otherwise, in this case, it's a banana. Else fruit equals name banana. And because we told TypeScript previously that it's a fruit, TypeScript's yelling at us because we don't have color. So let's say color yellow. Yeah, so that's cool. We, however, could get a little more specific in our types. What if we wanted to say that it's either an apple or banana?
Oh.
So this is, by the way, this is not yet discriminated union. Oh, sorry, discriminated types. This is just normal things.
Right.
And in fact, what if, you know what? I'm going to make it a little easier. What if curved is an applicable property only for bananas? Because apples don't care about whether they're curved. But bananas, let's say there's like a 50-50 chance it's a banana that's curved, 50-50 chance it's not curved. So now we have this weird object type where it describes a fruit that's either an apple or banana, and it has a property that we only care about if it's a banana. Like in theory, someone could put in like curved true for an apple, and that makes no sense.
Right.
Does the fact that this makes no sense but is allowed by TypeScript make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So what I actually want to do is have my own types. Type apple, color, string, name, apple, and I want type banana. Name, banana, curved, boolean, and then you know what? For now, let's just say color string, but later on we can do some funny stuff because banana's only ever going to be yellow. I guess yellow or brown. Anyway, here instead of having our own separate fruit type, we would say let type fruit equals. Instead of having a fruit object type, we'll say fruit is apple or banana because the fruit is either an apple or banana. So if the name on the fruit is apple, then we know that curved makes no sense because curved doesn't exist on the apple type.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to put the errors here so you can see the squigglies complaint at the same time as the code. Come on, zoomies.
Okay.
So this name property is what's called a discriminant. If name is apple, then TypeScript is able to deduce, oh, it must be the apple type. Otherwise, if name is banana, TypeScript is able to deduce that, oh, it must be the banana type. Does that make sense?
Yes. I'm also looking at this then. Okay. So with discriminated unions, then is it easier to describe with the if else, or is it only if else's?
And if else is just the easiest way to describe narrowing. I'm just using it as a toy example to force narrowing to happen. But like this example we have here doesn't actually need an if else. Like I could just comment it all out and then say fruit equals this. And it's just, oh, I see you have name apple, so curved true. No, don't do that.
Okay. I'm looking at this example too to see if I can it makes sense. I'm just like trying to think of how to write it down for future making sense, but
Sure.
it's okay. You know, worst case, I'll have to come back to it.
This is a two-parter, and I'm waiting to do the second part until I get confirmation from you.
Okay. Okay. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Awesome. So let's say that we are doing the randomization logic, and we don't mess it up. We don't put curved true. So I wish I could show both at this. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have two tabs open with the TypeScript playground. Here we go. And on the left, you'll see the type definition. but it's the same code area.
Hmm. Hmm.
And on the right, you'll see stuff after declaring the fruit. So just know that like this is the same code in
Yeah.
theory. Using the fruit, a discriminated union value that is a types of it, whatever, doesn't matter. Anyway, so here we can check if fruit dot. By the way, look at this fruit dot color and name. TypeScript knows it doesn't necessarily have curved because it might not be a banana, it might be apple, and it knows
Hmm.
that the name discriminant is only ever apple or banana. But it knows it's either apple or banana. It is the union type apple or banana. I don't know if you can physically see on the screen. So I'm going to do fun fact on the TypeScript Playground. You can do like these little called 2/ queries, or I forget what they're called. That it just adds like a little indicator of what the type is. It's a little comment. So fruit.name is the union apple banana. And then we do if fruit.name equals apple, then fruit doesn't have the curved. But if you do fruit.name is banana, then fruit.curved does exist. The curved property can only exist if the name is banana.
Hmm.
We
That
have
makes sense.
narrowed our object's type using its discriminant property.
Because we said it was banana, therefore it can have an additional property.
Yes. And
Yay!
just to show, like, what if we could add like crispy boolean to apple, and then in the else statement here, let's say we do like fruit.crispy. And I have to add it in this code because it doesn't sync because student knows whatever. Okay, cool.
What up, Firefixty?
Hi, Firebase.
Hello, hello. Firefix was one of the humans helping me on my Docker situation earlier this week.
Ooh.
That's what I'm going to call it, Docker situation.
Love it.
Yes. We're working on TypeScript. I am learning. Josh wrote a book called Learning TypeScript and has been coming on every other week. And we go through a chapter, which Josh is also very patient because he knows that I don't know that much about JavaScript, which I feel like I know. I'm learning a lot more. I just don't always put the words with what we're actually talking about of like, oh yeah, I do know that. Oh, that's the word that goes with it. So. And we're talking about discriminated unions, which is like separating out like, hey, this thing may not go with this thing.
You have the look of someone who's still processing, and this is a topic that tends to take a little while to process. So my proposal is I will copy and paste the playground URL that I'm using in the chat, crispy truth, because this shares the code. Let me just, yeah, there we go. I'll paste it in the chat, and if any of y'all want to futz around with it, you can. But it's totally reasonable, and I think a lot of people, myself included, like to just need to sleep on this, on the discriminated union stuff.
Yeah. Like
oh,
what?
And the link's too long, so I can't share it. Oh well.
Try. Can you tweet it to me, and then I can just like put it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'll look at it
idea.
later. I'm gonna go to my screen really quick since we're looking at the notes. Because I think the part, like what you're saying makes sense. And I don't know why I only did that. What I'm struggling with working on putting into my own words is basically, if I'm going with this poem with pages, is it knows that there needs to be the type pages, and this one knows that it needs to have the type rhymes. So if it doesn't have that in there, it won't know that it's poem with pages or poem with rhymes unless we add it in later on.
Yeah. All it knows is in the circled area is that anything that's a poem is one of those two types. So it's going to have a name. it might have a pages or rhymes, and it has a type that's either pages or rhymes. And if the type is pages, then it has pages. If the type is rhymes, then it has rhymes.
You know what? Something that I don't think I realized, it may be something in the code that is used often but is throwing me off, are these. Because in my mind, it would have been something like a comma and then the next one, or like it could have been like an or type of thing. But we have the colon and the question mark, which just means, does that mean the question mark means this one isn't included, or it's a possibility of both, or
Ah,
either?
see, this is a very core fundamental thing that would be good for me to have gone over. This is a ternary. And whenever I do a math.random in the code, in the snippets of code,
Hmm.
I'm just using it to say that it's some random chance of using one or the other. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
And this is a ternary saying it's a 50% chance of the first thing, the one after the question mark, and a 50% chance of the second thing after the colon. That's all.
I don't know what color to put this in. And what did you say
Nice
this was
blue.
called again?
Ternary. I'll put it in the chat.
Wow. Again. Oh.
And I'm finding the or conditional operator. So it's three things. It's the only operator, fun fact, in JavaScript that has three parts instead of two. It's some condition, the thing to do if it's true, the thing to do if it's false.
Okay. Cool. That helps. Because I
Yay.
think that was also a thing that I was getting stuck on, of just like, okay, cool. But the rest of it makes sense. Now, if I were to go type it myself, this is something I do feel like I would still be struggling with. But for the most part, it really does. Incoming, it makes sense.
Cool.
So I'm glad about that. Intersection types, I would think, just based on context, means that it could have that type in both of them.
Sorry, can you say that
Like,
again?
so if I go back up here, like it could have pages and rhymes in both. So we don't know which one it would be. That's
Yeah.
context, not what it actually is.
Okay, yeah. And now you're looking at intersection types, which have combinations of things, yeah?
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
This makes sense. I'm just going to put, yeah, like typing in something weird. There we go. Combinations. And danger of intersection types. Anything you want to go through here that's super important that we should know?
Yeah. TypeScript is super powerful. You can do a lot of stuff in the type system. Probably don't. It is difficult to debug things when they're very complicated in general, not specific to TypeScript. And a lot of people end up getting all hyper about what they can do in TypeScript and overcomplicating things. So try to keep your types simple, just as you would in any area of code. Try to keep things simple so that it's easier for you to read, understand, and modify over time. Yeah. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS.
Okay. And then, oh, intersection types are easy to misuse. I could see that. Okay.
By the way, I'm just going to clap myself on the back here because we're at the end. The never type is actually an important type in TypeScript, but it's not important until you get to like the more fancy stuff. And I wanted to introduce never, but I didn't want to wait until like the very end to introduce it because there was no like one good place to put it. So putting it here actually like really saved my butt in the layout of the book, the like structure and ordering of things.
Okay.
So I just remember being really pleased about realizing, oh, it's perfect, it's natural. Like, you know how when some stuff just like clicks when you're coding, you're like, oh my God, that's
Yeah.
how it has to be. Yeah.
We'll just put yay.
Yay.
Um, and I don't know if y'all could see this, but whenever I plug in my tablet, it still shows the wrong time at the very top. So
Where's
I was thinking at the top upper corner that it's just been like chilling there, and no. A lot of time has passed, and I have the webinar I wanted to go to in like 7 minutes. So I'm glad you're paying attention to time, because I was like, how is the time not moved?
Well, we're
So
going to the
what up?
Container Store at 3 o'clock, so you bet your butt I'm out of here by then. Love the Container Store.
And
Hiya,
yes.
Fuzzy.
What up, Fuzzy? Let's see. Okay, we have gone through a lot,
Yeah.
and it's
I
always
feel like
like
we've hit
so.
our flow. We're good.
Yeah, like we finally like figured it out. It took us a few times, but yeah, we got it all done, and we started a little late. I had to eat food, y'all. I was starving. Is it British summertime yet? Is it really?
Looking it up. Oh, the time zone.
Oh,
During
yeah.
British summertime, civil in the UK is advanced 1 hour forward of GMT.
I
Huh.
always thought it was standard time, not summertime, but summertime makes way more sense. I like
I always thought it
summertime.
was BTS.
Oh. Yay, I'm glad you saw the one with Dan. I for some reason I reposted it on Twitter, and then I realized it was yesterday, not
Yeah,
next Thursday.
I know. We're going to do another one. And in the next one, we might actually do the TypeScript compiler stuff that we were advertising we would do.
Oh
But thank you. That
yay.
was a fun stream.
Yay. I adore Dan. He's so fun. He's so
I know.
funny.
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, I want to be on the stream. He's like, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, I don't know. I just want to be on your stream.
Yep.
So that was my well, thank you
It's less
again,
fun.
Josh, and thank you everyone for joining us. We will be back in 2 weeks on chapter. Oh my gosh, we're going in a new section. We're going part 2.
Yeah.
We're
You've
going to talk
you've you've
about
established the foundations. You're good to go. You could leave and be
functions.
totally fine.
No, we should probably go through functions, not going to lie.
Functions are good.
Because learning functions in Python was kind of a struggle. So,
Mm,
like, they make more sense, but I'll
okay.
take it. I'll take it. And yes. So, well, thank you everyone, and see you later. Bye.